Yeah, you're good. You're good. Uh, yeah, you're good. You're good. My brother made this music. He makes a lot of music. Like my friend Ty. They're both musical geniuses. All I can do is write lyrics and a little bit of melody and a little bit of rap. Uh, Soulogy, soul speak, not rap. Although rap's okay. Some of it used to be okay. Like everything, they ruin it. Okay, let's see here. Carol Lanier Roberts. Boom. You are now tagged. And I'm going to share it to the network. Spread the love. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay, here we go. Rock and roll. Let me turn the volume down. Okay. What's going on here? Let's see. I got 5 people in the house. It takes a little while for them to come in. Yeah, let me just make a couple of quick announcements so I can remember what's going on here. This has been a really powerful week. Let me kill the music. How do I do that? All right. Another day on the front end of the apocalypse, the great unveiling. Let's see here. What do we got going today? We've got our beautiful friend here who we haven't talked to in quite some time, a fellow Texan. So she gets 5 dinky buttons for that. Carolyn Lanier Roberts. So after this week, we've got Susan Walter at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. And then Alicia Brachet from Melbourne, Australia. We do a show with her every 2 weeks. And she'll be on at 9 Eastern. So what is that, 6 Pacific? But yeah, we got Carolyn here. We got plenty of time. We had a little bit of tech difficulties. But, you know, one thing I noticed is anytime we have tech difficulties, we always have a great show. And I do want to say we're now 4 shows into having. We had 10 shows in a row removed from Facebook 5 minutes to 10 minutes into the episodes. And then out of those 10, 7 X episodes. And X is still dropping it. So I'm thinking it's probably because of my post there, but I don't even post that much. But nothing too radical, just shining the light, you know. But anyway, we've been able to overcome that. The shadow banning since December 27th on Facebook. It seems like we're busting through the algorithms. I got to say that, you know, the universal energy is stronger than any fuckery, any algorithm fuckery. And I really believe that. People have been saying that there's, and I haven't seen it, but people have sent me pictures. There's pink magenta flying across the screen during the episodes, teal green, violets, other things going on. So I got to believe that we're really starting to transform this thing. Anyway, okay, having said that, if these shows resonate with you, please share so we can kind of counter this shadow banning fuckery. Excuse my French, but I'm a little bit rowdy this morning. And thank you, everybody, for your, and Carolyn, thank you for the recent contribution. Thank you, everybody, for your love and support contributions, because really that's how we're able to do this every day. And doesn't matter, you know, energy is energy. So, you know, however you can support us, that's awesome. All right. So we've got Carolyn Lanier Roberts in the house, San Antonio, Texas, to be specific, Schertz, Texas. And we've been connected for a long time. I don't even know. I haven't looked. And sometimes that doesn't show you on Facebook. It used to. But I'm going to say, I think like 10 years. You know, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe longer. Maybe longer. And I didn't even know that you lived in Texas until, like, we were going to try to do a show a few months ago. And then something happened. But, yeah, I didn't even know. But anyway, so it's good to connect with people over again, you know, because there's been so many changes. I can't even remember the last episode, but then again, I've done well over 4,000, so I can't remember all of them. But sometimes while I'm talking to the person, I can. So, what's going on, Carolyn? What's happening? How are you? How are you? I don't even know what to talk about today. I mean, like, it's like Yesterday was the biggest day of my life, and the day before that was the biggest day until yesterday came and it replaced that day. It's like, what the hell? And then the whole movie script thing in the world is just getting ridiculous. And when I say ridiculous, I mean it's laughable. Like, like
Yeah,
I just keep going
it
back
is.
to the same thing. Like, you know what? I'm going to do what I want. I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm not going to pay attention to that stuff. What are they going to do? Kill me? I'm a soul. You can't kill me.
Right.
So come on, man. Like shake up that tree and cut the BS and let's stop choosing sides and choose ourselves and each other. Anything like that. Anyway, so what's
It's,
going on? What's going on? What's going on with you?
I mean, it's extreme. I feel like I'm grateful that I was prepared within myself several years ago for the stuff that's happening now. Um, you know, several things I was told. I was told that despite the way the things would appear, there would not be another war, that humanity is actually done with that. Um, there's a satiation point. That's the reason why we're ascending now, is because that that choice is done, and it's just playing out in the minds of those that are still caught up in the. To me, I would say they're caught up in the mind. They're caught up in those stories. They haven't connected to the heart. They haven't. I mean, the way I always receive it, they haven't had their heart pierced to bring them into the present moment, to start that flow. And there is no more tolerance at the divine level for, just like you were saying, for those choices, for the, I always, within me, I see people playing in a sandbox. That's what I always see. I see two guys, two women, or whatever, they're playing in a sandbox. They're in this little box, and they're not able to see outside of that box because they're so caught up in those individual stories. And when you're talking about, every day, it is every day. Every day is like, every day is so very different, right? And you have to do, that inner work to be sovereign and aligned in you, or you could get sucked into this energy because it is very intense. You can feel it. You can feel the collective. You can feel the shifts. And I just I send love, and I do what I can do, and then I kind of pull back within myself. And I'm grateful that I am able to maintain and sustain and just be in this place of gratitude and allow the emotions to move through me and not get sucked into those places. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah, and I noticed too, like just observing people, because I mean we're picking up energy. It's not like we're invading anybody or remote viewing them, or even that kind of stuff. These type of violations, aren't cool, and they're being tended to by the universal energy. But what I'm saying is I noticed some people, many people in the last year and 3 or 4 months, last since 25, January 25. Many people, including myself, found themselves in kind of a isolation, like a universal isolation. And
Right.
then I see two different things happening with, let's say, our colleagues or those people that are in the field with us, as best we can tell, like that are in these groups and such platforms and such, doing the same work, having the same type of lifestyle, same type of experience. And I notice some are, like myself, have gotten this call. Actually, I think all of them have, right? Because they've mentioned it. Some of them aren't there yet, and there's no judgment here. I'm just making a point. Some people are heeding this call to service, and I believe all of them are. Many of them have been in the background. Many of them were out in the open, then went into the background. So some are still kind of like just allowing all this to wash over them because there's been a tremendous amount of trauma and blame and unbridled emotion and programming and fuckery and bullshit that goes way beyond this lifetime. So we're having to decipher all of that stuff and eliminate all these negative attachments, because that's what they are, which are really ultimately controlled by our own ego identity, I guess you could say. So I'm seeing that, and I think those people will be coming out to play. And then some people are like initiators like me. Like, I'm going to head out on the 20th of May, and the universe has shown me this path, which I was going to go straight up north to Colorado, but now I'm going to go to Louisiana to this place called Poverty Point, which is the oldest indigenous settlement with pyramids in northern Louisiana. Never even heard of it. And then, yeah, and so I'm like, okay, so I put it on the map, and I go right through this friend that I met through Facebook, a supporter, Jessica. Right, I make a left turn and go north, right where she lives. Right, so I knew that was a sign, and because I originally was going to go to Colorado, and then my friends live in South Dakota, and they do the Sundance and all that stuff, and so I hit them up today, and they're like, oh, this is be the perfect dates to come, and it was like early June. I'm like, oh, I was planning on going like the end of the summer. So I put it on the map, and it's a straight line up to where they're at in South Dakota. So this is, this is a kind of a double message or statement I'm making. One is, I feel like what we're doing is we're moving in our own sphere of influence, kind of like a Forrest Gump bubble that's impervious to all that stuff that we mentioned earlier. Yet we're colliding and connecting in a more physical way because we're already, like you said earlier, we already have done it in the energetic field. So I'm with you on that. What are you getting into? What do you, first of all, can you kind of give us an overview? Because I know you're a practitioner.
Yeah,
This stuff, these cards behind you, though, they're freaking intriguing because it's one thing. We had a beautiful artist on a couple days ago, and her things were 60 inches tall. And I'm looking at the intricacies of her work, and now I'm looking at yours, and I'm going, whoa. Like those are like postcard size. So that must be a big part of what you do. What are those?
so these are actually blank card. Okay, let me get my. These are blank cards. These are blank, like regular, like you're thinking postcard size, yeah. 5x7. These are actually my photography. This is like a percentage. These are just like maybe this is a quarter. These are called blessing picks.
So
Blessing picks for
these
me.
are photographs. These are
These are
photographs.
pho- these are
What
photographs. Yes.
they look like they're like ornately colored. You know what I mean? That's
Cool. These
just
are like they most of them, not all of them have channels that go with them, but there's like let me, bear with me while I get this thing
oh,
right. Okay, so
so these have channels that go with them, like
not all
messages, transmissions, type of things.
so so like this one, okay, bear with me. This guy, that green one right there, that's dream, dynamic remembering that experience is action for miracles. Um, you know, this guy, those guys right there at the top, orient this right there. Those guys right there. The ducks. See the ducks, see the light, the ducks, the I took those several years ago when I was having several sessions at once in the place that I love. If you've been here, you've been to New Braunfels, you've probably been to Landa Park.
Oh yeah.
Um, fed by hundreds of natural springs. It's changed. It's still a sacred place, but it has changed, but it's very sacred to me. And that day I kept seeing golden light. I think I took these like 7 years ago. These are both wisdom. This is wisdom one, wisdom two, right here. And wisdom to me is experience viewed through the eyes of compassion, just like regret is experience viewed through the eyes of judgment.
Okay.
Um, they're all different ones. Like these are the tree next to it. That's peace is not passivity. That guy, right?
So you take the picture and then pull in the transmission, or you got the transmission and then you pull in the picture? Well, it's like the
Yeah,
chicken. I guess like the chicken and the egg, right?
yeah. So it's been the transmission comes through, and then I'm kind of asking, what is it? What is this? Is this water? Is this a tree? Is this and then the energy connects. And the truth is, these are
Other way. Other way.
this way.
You're going the right. No, yeah, no. Go opposite. Opposite.
I
I
get
know it's
within me,
crazy.
these are
Yeah.
this is kind of like they've given me these images in my third eye, and then I take the picture and I'm bringing it to that, if that makes sense. Most of these, um,
So,
they
uh,
all have images.
and are you an energy worker too, a practitioner? Do you work with people, or do you?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Our Reiki masters. I just allow the energy to direct me.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I
Yeah. I
work with
think
the
it. I.
heart.
Oh, you work with a heart
So,
specific.
my mission is to be a reawakener of the conversation of the heart.
Right.
For me, this is a conversation between the sacred mind, the sacred heart, in the body, vehicle, voice of the soul. It's now called heart coherence,
Yeah.
but this is something I was given years ago, and
Yeah.
my guides call it the conversation because everything is a conversation. It's an
Right.
exchange.
Right. It's very similar to what I received uh, March 10th, 2012, which
Hmm.
was the word Soulogy, the other side of truth, and you'll figure the rest out. So it's just like with your pictures, it would come out in the writing. And that was the basis of it. The basis of it was it's the heart and mind of spirit called the I am
Right.
soul. And of course, Soulogy is just another name, like Holy Spirit or universal energy or God or life source energy. But I think it's the same thing that you're talking about. It's the exact same thing because it's interesting when we refer to the heart in these circles, everybody
Hmm.
gets it. Everybody gets that. It's like the heart, although it has physical attributes, it's a very energetic, non-physical kind of thing. We've all had butterflies, and so on. But when we refer to the mind, there's
Right.
the mind of spirit, but there's also this other connotation, like in your
Right.
head, that chatter, that looping voice that's not even ours, basically. Yeah, that one that the ego kind of operates. Like, oh my
Right.
God, why did she do that to me? Or why did he do that to me? And this is what she thinks, and that's what he thinks. And we create this whole other alternative universe. So, yeah.
My guides gave me this analogy years ago, and this is what grounds me is, they gave me this analogy of a physical camera. So you've got a physical camera, and what you're looking at through that lens, that is the sacred mind. That's the mind. The sacred mind is basically the merged conversation before the conversation is merged, when you're only operating it but up in your head, and you are really kind of disconnected from your reality, right? Because you're in your mind, and the mind doesn't have to be even grounded into this moment, right? So when you are when you're looking at a camera and you're looking through that lens, that's the mind. You're looking at that thing. You've got the camera, which is the physical body. You've got this light in the background, this aperture of light, this light that illuminates what you're looking at. And what I've been given is that is the sacred heart. That's the one in the background. It's always been in the background, and that's what illuminates. And then it's what directs the mind to what it looks at. And then the merging of the two is the conversation. Before that, there's a disconnection, and then the mind has gone off in its own little direction because it hasn't had grounding. And when it connects with the heart, which then becomes the sacred mind, sacred heart, then there's this grounding, and then there's this divine flow. But like within me, the mind is even called a box of logic. I mean, and logic to me is always seen as a box. It's a very useful tool, but you can't use it in all spaces of life. And it certainly isn't something that you want to ground your changes into. Like we were brought up in the generation where change is this, change is scary, change is this, change is, but that's only because we were coming from a place of logic. What is the logical step,
Yeah.
which cuts off the whole
Well,
other part of the conversation?
Yeah, I don't think any of us have been operating on logic in the majority, let's just say, over these last few years, or we wouldn't be ended up where we're at. We wouldn't be doing the things
True.
we're doing. But yeah, you're right. That's an important distinction. I think sometimes we want to throw the ego and that connotation of the mind slash brain, even well, the brain I think is a little bit different. It's more like a physical component that's a transmitter, but we want to throw it out, the baby out with the bathwater. And really, there is an intellect, not to be confused with intelligence, because that higher mind of spirit is
Right.
intelligence. The intellect is part of our makeup in this playground, and logic is there, rationale is there. I think what happens when the other connotation of mind takes over is we start to rationalize and use logic to substantiate ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and that's something I think that we're starting to catch within ourselves. We're starting to, at least privately, say, hey, you're an asshole. Or you're thinking about this, and that wasn't, I think, in other words, like, this is the way you're seeing it,
Yeah.
and that's what you've been that's how you've been looking at it, and then something comes and shows you another shade of that person or of that place or of that thing or of that experience, even if it's a trauma, and you go, oh, wait a minute. That's what it's been like for me, especially the last year. It's been like, you know what, if I think Carolyn is ABC, then Carolyn's going to be ABC, you know.
Right. Right.
But if I can go in and say, like, who am I to even say that? Let me be present with her. Let me listen to her, and then I can see what she really is. And for some people, I think that is like a blinding light, whether you're giving or receiving, and I think this is where you get triggers. As triggers are activations, and activations are triggers, right? They all end up in the same place. Yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
though, that part of our evolution. That's interesting.
I think all of us have gone through that where it's kind of like, I'm getting, don't say all. Okay. Many of us have gone through that. That we're looking at things differently. We flip things upside down. We're seeing things very differently. Um, you know, losing attachment to it, pulling away, moving into the compassionately neutral place where we can look at something upside down in any way and realize um, where we can have an effect on that and where it's not our business. I get that within me lots of times with other people's stuff. It's not my business. It's not my business. It's not my business. I'm doing my best. I'm doing this. My intent is this. I'm offering this. Somebody else's interpretation of it. It's not my business. That's where they are. You know. That's something I've had to learn
Yeah.
very, very as an empath. I mean, I used to take everything personally, and now I've really, you know, as I've come to this place where I understand where I stand, how I feel, being very, very honest with myself in a very loving way, but very honest with myself, and seeing where I am and they began, and really getting very clear on, yeah, I can offer all this, I can say all this, I can present that I've done this, I can say this is what worked for me, but will it work for them? That's their reality, that's their choosing, and that's their option. And how they interpret what I say, if I'm giving it in love and in loving intent, I've been honest, I've been authentic. To me, that is love. The rest of it, how they interpret that, not my business. I just send them on with
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're saying is, I've noticed it too, is like, these individual experiences that we've had are, in many cases, very, very powerful.
Right.
They come through in different faces of the universe, from like spiritual icons like Merlin or Yeshua or, Kuan Yin, to galactics, to elemental dragons, fairies, to other souls that have been incarnated that we knew or didn't know, all the way up to Source or God or Mother Goddess, whatever you want to call it. And what I've noticed doing this show over the years is that there is this certain veracity that people carry, and it's understandable because we all have egos, and I don't care how neutral we think we are. We're more neutral now than we used to be, but I don't see anybody walking on water. And what I'm saying is that it's almost like an over identification with the way the universe showed me what it showed me. And so, going back to what you're saying, which requires, like a passage to pass through, is humility. So, in other words, you can say, look, I can tell you, I never really talked about this, but like when I first woke up, Jesus, as I knew him, came in the trees and talked to me, like physically. And then later on, I would get transmissions, and he'd show me this life in the Holy Land, and I was born to him and to Mary Magdalene, and they pulled me out of a cave. But I never took that literally. I never spoke about it at length. It wasn't that important. I understood it was a message, and that really was the way the universe was conveying the message to me. So what I'm saying is, as we, when you say stay in your own lane kind of thing, is what you're kind of saying, you still can share, but it doesn't mean it applies to everybody. The real
No.
the real code comes in you telling the story without that attachment or charge and just saying this is what happened to me. So I have a lot of respect for that, and I know you can't do that unless you've went out there and tried this and tried that and tried this and learned things about yourself and gain a greater awareness and really swallow those huge pieces of humble pie,
Yeah.
which the universe loves to give out.
Yeah, and I'm actually at a place where I'm grateful now that I feel um I almost want to say full circle, but then there's part of me that's no, I can't say full circle. I'm not God, but I am at a place where I am yeah, I am. Can I say I'm humble? Yeah, there was actually a channel that came through me years ago that I remember, which was about that. Can we be humble? Can we can we still love ourselves and appreciate ourselves and honor ourselves and be humble to the grace that comes through us and still be humble to the grace of others? Absolutely, because it's a balance. It's both. You can't walk forward and speak your truth and stand in that and still be gracious and loving to others unless you are gracious and loving to yourself. And so it's you know my thing that I get within me very so strongly always is um to be accessible, to be accessible, to be accessible. And so it's I used to bring through these channels, and they were, and I respect all of them. um and they're awesome and they're beautiful. But I'm now at a place where I'm like, those channels, I love those channels. They do serve, they're very powerful. However, now we're at a place where um you can't be up here. You have to be here, level with everybody, accessible to everybody, because what's the point? If people cannot mirror, cannot learn from what you are, from what you've done in any respect they choose, then what's the point? There's also a point I've learned too, where you can only water down, you can only bring down, you can only dilute what you offer, what you bring through. You can call it your wisdom or whatever, to a point. If the soul that you're addressing doesn't want to hear it, hasn't done that work within themselves, isn't connected to that reality, isn't connected or wanting that truth, or wanting those answers, or seeking that in any way, it's kind of like that's it. You back up, you send them love, they're doing their thing. And it's not a place where you're assuming anything for them, because you're in your own reality, they're in theirs. But we can only offer what we've walked, what we've lived, right? And from that place, you do that as loving as possible, and you give it and you offer it kind of like a gift. Here's this. And hopefully they can receive it, but the receiving isn't your responsibility. It's theirs, and that's something I've kind of had to learn, because we've all ran through it, right? We got loved ones and they're hurting, and our souls have connected to this truth within ourselves, and we want to convey that because we want to make it easier for them. But there's a point
yeah,
like you, you can't do it.
yeah.
You can't make them learn.
Hmm.
We're all
You see,
right.
that's the code right there. That's the heart opening. That's what's happening. Hearts are opening, but
Yeah,
and then there's this, and this is a bit of logic and rationale, not to
right.
substantiate your position, but to speak with the components of this experience, which is the human, with this wide range of emotions and the ego implant and everything, right? And to actually be coming out the other side. Yeah, so there is a benefit to speaking in terms of that language. And
Right.
yeah, this, what you're describing is, it's twofold. Like, we're getting to the point now where we're really understanding that what I'm seeing, I'm going through this right now, and I just want to be careful what I'm saying, right? Because it involves family and such. But I'm going through this. I'm coming back in another iteration of Todd after 2 years in Mexico, and many reunifications prior to me leaving. And I hadn't spoke to my mom for 6 years, my dad for 8 years, my brother for 8 years, and so all this got reconnected. Now I've come back in the fold, and I can see some of the patterns playing that cause me pain and tears, like you're showing us now. And I'm standing on the outside looking in, going, do I enter this space? Do I come in here and hold them by the hand? And my soul's going, no, no. So I'm finding myself having these conversations very gently. Uh, the problem, let's just say the person comes and presents the problem, and I say, I see it. Uh, and let me point out the parts of it that bring gratitude. Okay, let's not forget that part, because we used to get hung up on the other stuff, right? And then I say, now you realize what you're seeing in the other is kind of a program. You can see where it's coming from because they know each other. It's family, right? And then I'll point out, and you realize it's not about them. It's about your program. It's about, you've allowed this, and not in a judgmental way. But so that to me is as far as I can take it. And I don't know. Like you said, it's, they're not in the same sphere of experience, but at the same time, and more importantly, I'm not in theirs. I'm
Right.
not in theirs. So I'm starting to walk away from, that's not my space. As much as it
Right.
makes my heart ache, it's not my space. Instead of me going, what's wrong with them? They're not awake yet, or they don't like me, or whatever the case is. It's a very humbling thing, and I really, I've been feeling this for years, but more and more and more, I'm eating humble pie every day, every single day, and that's why when I look at your tears, I'm going, yeah, I can relate to this, because sometimes they're tears of heartbreak, bittersweetness, and sometimes they're just bliss. Just, you just sit down and go, oh my God, I am so blessed to be here, right? Oh, you went,
Yeah.
you went, you went silent. Oh, you're back. Go ahead.
I'm, I'm here. What, I left for a second?
No, no, I thought your
Am
voice
I
was
still?
out. I thought your voice was muted. Go ahead.
No, I'm still here. Yeah. No, I've had friendships that I've had to drop or loosen. Some I've dropped, some I've loosened, and I would like to. Oh, I'm reading that on the screen.
Here, I'll make it bigger.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm seeing that. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Diana G07X. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 No, it just like you're saying with some of my friends. I yeah, well, they were friends, you know. There's a point where I always see it within myself as a spiral against to that. That's the path. The tighter the spiral gets, and the more that you have it's a smaller community in terms of those that are connected to you, that haven't done their work or that aren't at the same place. It gets smaller until like the frequency shifts, and then the spiral opens more, and then there's more and more that come to you, because it's the frequency. You know what I'm saying? um
Well, that's a big subject. I mean, I know what you're saying, but it is a really big subject. I think this is you're right on point, bullseye. But it's this twofold thing, right? It's because look, I know we're one, but you're there and I'm here, right? Like you're there and I'm
right.
here. So that's part of the experience. Is this well a dualistic polarity is what we're transforming from. So in other words, I'm not at well. Let me put it this way: if we were made up of 100 different streams or aspects, there's going to be some aspects or some streams of life that you have a higher level of acumen or efficacy, or alignment. And there's going to be the same for me, which means, I have strengths that might be your weaknesses, and you have strengths that might be my weaknesses. The issue has been that I'm looking from my perspective, even as a light worker, starseed, whatever I want to call myself, and I'm focusing on certain attributes you have, depending on if I'm putting you on a pedestal or looking down on you, right? Because judgment, it requires, I mean, with judgment comes superiority or inferiority. There's no question. Now, so I'm not seeing the parts that I could heal from, and vice versa, right? So I think what's happening for me is I can see, like you said, the self love is the path. I mean, when you get right down to it, and all the complications are taken out, is in any situation like on this show today, or lunch with my mother tomorrow, or dinner with my daughter tonight, or whatever the case is, or going down to the convenience store and buying a pack of cigarettes. Everyone knows that. But and having an encounter with the clerk. But my point is, we're merging constantly. We're being offered at all times to, and you're a practitioner, you know this. You're going to start a session, you're going to open your field 360 degrees or to the highest percentile that you can, and then ask the other to do the same thing. So what happens? We become transparent, and with that transparency, because the only way to be transparent is to open your heart more. So you open your
Right.
heart more, and what happens? You let down your walls, and then that non-physical soul to soul connection that's far beyond romantic starts to do its work. And I may not even be conscious of what you're giving me right now, because you're giving it to me now, right? You know what I mean? Like the channels are open. So that's kind of how I see it now. Whether it's the bank president or the janitor, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, you know what I mean? Child or elderly, male or female, gay, straight, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
ethnicities, religions, whatever. It's interesting, powerful too.
It's powerful. Yeah. If you saw me in the day to day, I said this to some friends. I'm a loving person, but I move in places when, I mean, and this has to happen to others, where you have to do those daily tasks. You have to go outside the house, and you don't really feel like interacting with people because you're in a very, very, very raw, sensitive place. And so I've had to move to a place when I have to do that, where I'm very efficient with what I'm doing. I'm very focused. I'm very efficient, because my goal is to get whatever done in the friendliest way possible, and not be superficial, but not go into deep conversations. Because if I went into a deep conversation in those places, I might fall apart. I might start crying. I might be very connected to whatever's happened to that person and let myself enmesh. you know? And so I'm learning, and I know there's got to be others like me that I'm kind of learning how to be um, functioning outside of the house, outside of, and be with others. And like in a session is one thing because I can prepare myself. I'm in that place. It's kind of like shifting dimensions or realities is almost what I'm getting, kind of putting yourself in this little cubicle with this person. And that's the only energy that exists is you and that person. That's one thing. But when you're going outside and you're like maybe going to the grocery store and stuff, and you're not in a very social space, because I mean, I don't know, I'm an empath. And there's these waves of energy come, and sometimes if I have to go to the grocery store, I have to get gas, I have to, you know, I'm learning how to be still social with this person and real with this person, but not too porous is what I'm getting to, because I know, and I know there's others that, you meet me and most people meet me and they want to talk to me, and sometimes depending on the energy or where they are, they'll start telling me all kinds of stuff, because they want to share with me. And I want that. It's just, it's difficult sometimes because I have to be in this place where I'm hearing wanting to give and also will able to give. Because when some of the energy is coming through and it's very, very intense, we move into places where we really can't give because we're getting so much is shifting within us, and the energy is requiring us to be centered within ourselves so that we do have more to give once whatever that is coming in is processed. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes, I do
yeah.
have.
What's your YouTube channel?
Uh, Let me think. I have two.
Well, you know what?
I
Send it to me, and I'll put it in the comments, not the live chat, but I'll put it in the comments of YouTube and also on Facebook. Let's
got it.
not go past this. This is why I do this now. This show has changed since last summer, and
Yeah.
these are the kind of discussions I've appealed to the universe for, and it's happening virtually every show. I think this is really important because, for one reason, like many of the people, especially the sisters, can relate to the challenge of going into a public place and feeling things and not even always knowing what they are, right? Just feeling them. So a lot of them, and a lot of and us, me too. What kind of word is that? A Texan word, but became hermits,
Yeah.
and some of this has been very necessary. What I've seen happening, though, is that these individuals are now fortified. Now, it's not perfect yet, but it does require stepping into this space. That's how this energy seems to grow. Sharing, having these encounters. So I think what's happening is they're taking, okay, well, today I'm going to walk 2 blocks. Today I'm going to drive 2 miles. Tomorrow it's going to be 3, and so you go, I'm not speaking metaphorically, you go into it a little bit deeper, and you allow this fortification, which is your impervious Forrest Gump bubble, to do its work. And when something peeks through, you go, oh, okay, wait a minute, that's not. I don't need to put a boundary up. I need to be aware of the past pattern I've had when that type of energy pokes its head in. It's not a person. It's an energy showing me something and trying to tell me something. So I think the other thing is that the empath, which is really what we're talking about, the empath attribute, which really everybody has, some just went online earlier, right? Was that you could feel everything. But then we got put through the grind, through the wash, rinse, dry, second rinse, and repeat, and the human experience. And we all had our own come to Jesus meeting with the universe time and time again, dark nights of the soul, triggers, whatever. But the value of getting this, I want to say, gift and ability into a manageable state allows now for these interactions to take place because the empath is now has this superpower that has the ability to understand where the other person's come from. So the intelligence, yeah, they always come around when I'm on it. Have you ever noticed that? I love they're from another planet, or I think they're actually from another galaxy. But what happens is you can then start to have a conversation instead of getting triggered. You go, okay, say it's a perpetrator of some sort, energetically, and you come across, and before it's like, oh, I got to get out of here. Now they might say something, and you can look at him, and because you're not clouded, and you can go, oh, wait a minute, something happened to him. That's why
Yep.
he was a victim and he became a perpetrator, or he was a perpetrator and he's become a victim. Whatever it is. So I think the empath quality or characteristic strength has become a strength because a lot of times, many times, if not all the time, our greatest weaknesses become our greatest strengths. Blessings are
Really.
burdens, burdens are blessings. So it's a really good aspect and point of our experience real time to bring up, and I appreciate you doing that.
Well, to me, the time that we're in now, that I've been getting ever since we really started to enter it, the Aquarian age is compassion is what must lead, like everywhere. Period. Has to be the grounding, has to be the foundation of the because it's the bridge, and it's necessary. There is no other way around it. There's so much so much that's come through me about that. That the limit on intelligence, the logical stuff, the limit on that, the place where it will not rise above is if it doesn't include compassion. If it's just all this knowledge that hasn't been expanded into other dimensions by compassion, there's a limit. It doesn't go above that. Um, there's just so much. To me, compassion is an element of community. It's how we join, and it doesn't see things. It's just this joining. It's so significant. There's some part of me that's gonna just like explode about it, but
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
just
and
like,
you're right. It's like compassion, not to be confused with pity.
no, not pity. No, pity's old word. Pity.
That's what I mean. Like the compassion you're talking about doesn't even have a definition. It's what?
And
Yeah, I mean,
well, right? Pity is a measurement. Pity is just like, and this is just as just myself, but I've always seen the word help, and I respect the word help, but I've always seen the word help as there's a level to it. I'm going to help this person, which to me, it depends on the intent of the person, certainly, but help also has an element to it where it could be like, better than this person. I'm going to help them. I'm going to go help them. But it can also be a place where you're wanting to give to that person and it's level, right? Pity has levels. Pity is I'm above this person and I'm reaching out to them.
well, evidently the angels agree with you. They just rang the bell here. I don't know what the hell that was. Somebody said the screen's flashing again. But yeah, you're right. It's like compassion is, well, it's what I just said in that example. We're now
Right.
like we have had these things turned on, and like you're saying about knowledge, it's not enough anymore to say I'm an empath. I can feel things. Well, you know what? Everyone's coming online to that. It's more about that exchange I was talking about. Somebody comes along, it's a pattern that you've seen before or an energy you've seen before, and due to your life experience, including other incarnations, it triggers you or makes you feel yucky or whatever. But now we've gotten to this point because of what you said, the level of the quotient of self-love, respect, honor, everything
Right.
that goes with it, now allows us to take a pause, look at that person, look at the energy, and understand it's not here to attack you. It's actually your soul, your higher self, whatever, and maybe the collaborators presenting something to you for an opportunity to expand. And so, what does that translate to? You look at him and go, because you don't feel sorry. It's not like that. You just say, "Oh my God, there's the story." What's that
Yeah.
saying? That saying? I can't remember. It's a Bible saying, but yeah, it's woe is me, or therefore I go, or something like that. In other words, it could be me. And it is me, really. That's really what it's coming down to. We're seeing everybody as ourselves, and that's not some new age bullshit. That's the
No,
truth.
it is the truth. It is the only way. It's how the leveling happens. It's how the humility happens. It's how you expand beyond yourself. And you know there's the self love, but or and with the self love, genuine love, it immediately bridges to others, because love isn't an isolated conversation. And so it's like, um yeah, those are old. That's old. And I know what you're saying. To me, that's old energy. This isolation, these boxes of this and this. To me, there really aren't any boxes. The only place within myself I even receive a box is when you're in the mind, and you're not, in your heart is closed, or you're not listening to your heart, and you're in the mind, where the mind can be and has been manipulated, right? Strings pulled, and stories this, and things this, and thoughts this, because the soul had thought that those were their thoughts, and thought that that was their reality, and thought that that was the way they were, not even realizing that those thoughts may not even be their own. you know and now it's a place where there's the merging has been happening. I mean, I would even say, with like Joshua and the Masters, they've merged. The conversation of the heart is how they came through, and they became like whole, right? Now we're at a place where every soul I'm hearing, invited into the higher expression of themselves, so that they can be walking in their in their grace. Basically, that makes sense. Somebody said something, I missed it.
Oh yeah, no, that was the same sister. She said that that is exactly what I went through yesterday with my godson. Yeah. So this is important, and you touched on something, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Voice to skull technology, cytronic warfare, cytropic warfare, meaning implanted thoughts. Now, what I mean by this is it's starting to come to light, some of this disclosure stuff, okay, which, you know, people know I'm not wrapped up in that stuff. And I don't mean that to say I'm better than it. I'm just saying I see it for what it is. But I can see the physical and the non physical converging, like in a torus field, the middle part of a torus field. And what I'm saying is that there's a tremendous emphasis and impact and influence of technology. It's growing rapidly. It's starting to, it's become pretty obvious. Like, for instance, the AI that we have now is something they've had for 50 years. So we're not even getting the cutting edge stuff. You know what I mean? But the dog, Toto, went to the back of the curtain, pulled it open, and we've all seen the Wizard of Oz there now. What I'm getting at is that the real technology is us. We have the innate, we have the Akashic, the ancient, we have the original, whatever you want to call it. It's here, made in the image. It's all within us. So this tech is being presented in front of us. It's been used against us, and at some level, I guess you would say unconsciously, but no longer, we had agreed to all this, right? At some level, right? We're souls. Now the wheels are coming off, and we're starting to gain this awareness and take our power back. That's really what this is about. It's about a universal expansion through the fractals of itself, which really comes down to the individualization, right? I'm the unique but equal piece of this cosmic puzzle. So what I'm saying is, it's not this threat, it's a catalyst, because nothing outside of us has power over us, certainly not something that's been made with nuts and bolts, so to speak, right? So all I'm trying to say is that as we come into a greater awareness individually and collectively, that these weren't our thoughts. Can you imagine the ease to be able to decipher when it is or it isn't? This is a total game changer. And not only does it affect our balance and continuity and coherence, as you said earlier, but there's a direct link between that power that we grant to ourselves through the love that we have come to on this day, on this given day, that is directly related to synchronicities, to intuition, to telepathy,
Right.
to the beehive intelligence that we have, so that those merges, like today, you and me, become more and more prolific. You know, I mean, this is a
Yeah.
whole new math, a whole new geometry, whole new language. Thank you.
It's yeah, no, I completely yeah. I'm I'm complete alignment with that. I mean, you know, I don't even really say against, just like you're saying, I don't really even say against anymore. I don't I see things as choices of ignorance, because the soul doesn't know their own truth, beauty, and grace. Or lost souls, basically, who are souls that aren't connected to that within themselves. And AI, just like you're saying, to me, I have no AI is a it's a puppet, and the puppeteer, I always see this as, AI is a creation of whoever the person that created it is, and you always have to be aware of what is the intent of that person who created that, and what are they programming into that particular AI expression. What is their intent? I remember when AI came on, what is that, 10 years? It hadn't been 10 years ago, what, 5 years ago? You go to Instagram and there are these people, they're talking to AI and they're asking these things, and they were swallowing that stuff whole. And I remember seeing that, and it was compelling to a point within me. And maybe I knew within me something was off, because it was like this, with all respect of it was being said, it was this BS. There was this energy. The energy was off. That's the one. Thank you. The energy was off. It wasn't like a solid truth. And I'm being reminded within myself. There's a channel that came through me years ago that so deeply connects with me, which is, truth is this solid line of energy. It cannot be pierced. It is solid in every direction. Lies, deception, and illusion, they are solid in one direction of reality. But if you look at them in another direction, they just fall apart, because they aren't truth. They aren't reality. And it's like AI, if it's offering something that is truth, then what they're offering can be seen as solid in every direction of reality. But most of the AI, I'll choose to say most, a lot of the AI, depending on the intent of who has programmed it, um, you know, there is truth in there, right? But you have to discern it through you. And the way I've been taught is there's judgment, which is the filtering of the mind, right? Which is like this. You're seeing a reality and you're seeing this. But when you shift that energy to the heart, to that full conversation, then you move into discernment. And that is an I'm hearing unbreakable, necessary, and you can say filtering, but the way I always receive it within is that, like, judgment filters out and you only see this. Discernment filters in, it pulls in everything that is of love. And so everything that is of love is what you are witnessing from that viewpoint, and everything that is pulled in. And you see everything, because that's a 360 view. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's funny how things that were in the field as givens are still there, but they take on a greater meaning. So what I'm referring to is, and I totally agree with you. There's that saying that Dick Gregory has in some of his old videos, and he'll say, "When the universe puts the glasses on you, you can't go back." so so we had to get used to it. So when the universe put the glasses on us, we were like, "Oh wait, that's not truth. That's not truth." And you start to find out truth's stranger than fiction, and there's a lot of bullshittery and all that stuff. But then there's another side to it, and that's what you're talking about. And I feel like that's another threshold that we're crossing, is you can't turn back the skills, abilities, and higher sensitivities and multiple streams that come in every moment. See, that's another thing. and our brother John King was talking about this yesterday on the show. As we go into these situations now, it's not a singular thing anymore. It's not just a
Right.
human experience. To be appraised and processed based on your wounds and my wounds. Basically, we've transformed these wounds. Now we come together, okay, and there is that compassion you're talking about. There's also this expanded vision where we have more streams to pull from to then create our next thought, word, or action. So this is why I love doing this show because we're not talking about what it used to be like. You know what I mean. In context, we're not selling anything like you've got to do this and you have to do that. We're dipping into the value of the individual experience because it's unique and it has something to offer the whole collective, and that's the value of the physical mirrors that we have and can accept with a greater opening of our heart, which means we're seeing and treating. What's the basic universal law? What goes around comes around, and it's
Right.
subjective. So what does that mean? That means it's up to that fractal to choose how they will proceed. And then the great thing about the universal energy is it doesn't matter what you did right up to the last minute. You can literally wipe the page clean and build from there. Always the universe, no matter what choice you make, meets you with love, grace, wisdom, compassion. You know, powerful stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm just grateful to be here. I'm just kind of like, I think for anybody, I'm just, you know, grateful I'm eating this up because all that exists is this moment, and I feel very, very blessed
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
honored.
Yeah, that's my favorite quote. I say it all the time. People probably get sick of it. It's Joseph Campbell, eternity has no time. There is no time. Uh, this is it. If you don't get it here, you're not going to get it anywhere. And so that's it. We're creating this field of what we used to call magic and miracles, alchemy, and it has a certain characteristics, the open heart thing, right? But it's also this presence, and
Yeah.
you cannot be present with somebody else anymore unless you're present with yourself. And I think this is why there's been a lot of universal isolation and solitude and silence, quietness, peacefulness, alone time, because we've had to get to know ourselves, which on one hand would seem to be easy because it's our natural nature. But on the other hand, we're so used to the cycles and the patterns of the distortion that it's taken time to really adjust because we're used to the shoe dropping, something happening. Oh, boom! I knew it couldn't last, but that's not happening. That's not happening.
No, it's why I always do my best, starting with myself and then with others. And I'm not perfect, but I do my best to always be kind. I feel like kindness is more important than anything because it's a gentle energy. And nowadays, with these intense energies, you have to be kind with yourself. It doesn't matter what you've done, what you're thinking, any of that stuff. It loosens up that tight energy, and I'm even seeing like brain waves, these tight brain waves, to allow in light of illumination, for shifts to happen, right? And with others, just like you were saying earlier, in the old, and I'm seeing this so clearly, like this demarcation line basically in the old, where people are caught up and they're looking at what people have done, and so they're assuming that again, because they themselves live in that loop. They live in that box of, well, this happened before, so it's going to happen again. And they themselves have not opened themselves up to something more different, better, And so they're not extending themselves kindness at all, which makes me, my nature is to extend them even more kindness because to me, the way I always see it is they're living in their own personal hell. they're making choices for themselves that are not loving and that are not kind. And that is some place within me that I feel it makes me kind of sad. I would like for them to have a happier existence, you know?
Yeah, that's another, that's another conversion that we're making, where we're de-emphasizing the effect. And you talked about this earlier as an empath. We're de-emphasizing the influence and effect of what you're talking about, which is in a physical mirror that you wish the best for, right? And we're stepping back. This is at least the way I see it, and this is what I'm living more than ever now. This is why I'm excited about just jumping on a bus at 64 years old with my equipment and going to, on this 111-day trip, But what it is the best thing we can do for them, right? I remember I heard this when I went homeless, when I first woke up, and I chose to go homeless for 2 years. And I was in this constant communion, and they said to me, because I had, for the first time, no children. Well, I had no house, no money, no car, no nothing, right? But the biggest thing was I had no children in my home for the first time in 23 years. Not that I had a home, but, and so it was a real, like we've all been there, guilt trip, shame,
Right.
blame. I coulda, woulda,
Right.
shoulda. And so the universe came in early on the spirit walk, and it said to me, the best thing you can do for them, whether you ever talk to them or see them again, your loved ones, and ultimately extrapolate that out to the world, whatever, is to put yourself in the best possible spiritual health. In other words, to say yes to you. What is the best thing for you? And
Right.
that will be equally felt and meted out to them and the collective. So we reach this point where sometimes we have to walk away, we have to remove ourselves, we have to bite our tongue, but we're not compromising our soul anymore. We're not overgiving and therefore depleting
Right.
ourselves, thinking that we're expanding them and helping them when really we're not. We're just enabling them. And at the same time, we're depleting ourselves. So they're stagnating and we're going down. But this is where the shift is. The shift is now, I know who I am. I'm Carolyn. This is who I am. This is what I do. And energetically speaking, that's where the bulk, that's where the massive bulk of the effect is. You don't have to say a word. We are tuning
Right.
forks, right? We are illuminated stars in human form. And so, really, you know, it's really that, like you said, that love affair with yourself, because there is a simultaneous spiritual, cosmic, energetic reaction that occurs simultaneously. As my love for myself grows, my love for everything outside of me matches it. Period. And that's being notated. Let's just say by the gods above, so to speak, metaphorically. It doesn't matter. It far less matters what we speak and who we convince and all that. That's gone. Views,
Yeah.
number of subscribers, number of likes, as a metaphor in this tech age. That's not it. There are people out there that are doing stuff with 100 followers, with 10 views, that are impacting the entire grid far greater than some of these platforms that behind them are psyops or controlled by CIA or huge ego frequencies or whatever.
Right.
It's like that thing on the Sermon on the Mount. The meek, and this is an energetic statement, the meek will inherit the
Right.
earth. Yeah, thank you.
Right. No, it's beautiful. I mean, it's the truth. And you were talking, and I was reminded within myself. The reason my mission business is allowing the light is because I was given years ago the phrase, which kind of echoes within me, which is nothing happens until we first allow. We first allow from ourselves, from our choosing, from our stepping, from our listening, from our stillness, like you were talking about, from holding that frequency and being that frequency, and then that's opening up the floodgates of of the allowing of the place of surrender that brings in all of it. It's the place where we're standing still. Another part of that could be, you say it's the divine feminine, and the divine masculine is the action, right? And now we're at a place where the two, as the divine feminine is being recognized and brought back into the conversation, recognized in the conversation where she's always been. Now it's a place where there's this balance that's happening between the two, and that she is able, and she's appreciated to be the step that needs to happen, that's been ignored, like in the old, where it was like do, make this happen, go out, make this happen, go out, shake the whatever. But the true divine flow has actually always been to allow it, to open up to it, to imagine it, to surrender to it, to surrender to that flow. I'm hearing surrender to the rapture, to allow it to move through you, to allow the spirit to move through you, to let this happen, to step back, and then the doing place, the stepping, the forward, the movement comes through that flow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's this is a great conversation because and there's a reason that the green, whatever they're saying, the green streak keeps going across. That's the heart color, right? That's the heart chakra, which is really what it comes down to. But I always joke about this since I reawoke in 2011, and when I'm having a discussion with the you, me, we, and it, right? And I'm like, where's the owner's manual? Where, where's the how to? Where's the standard operating procedure notebook? SOP. Where is it? And how that energy can be very comical, and it will just laugh at you. But that's what we're doing. We're writing the code, and so you spoke to this earlier, which I think is huge. Like it's starting to come online more, and it's painful. It's painful for the light worker starseed community because we spent so much time out there, and we spent so much time out there utilizing our connections to the multidimensionality to offset the traumas and the programs and such that we've resisted in accepting and facing and feeling. So that's being stripped away because you can't embody being out of your body. So this is what's happening. The human, which seemed to be the low aspect on the consciousness totem pole, flips because it's always a paradox. So it's actually leading the way. And it's a very,
Right.
from a multidimensional perspective, it's like from our old perspective, it's a mundane. We're like the redheaded stepchild at the monadic table has now gotten its, initiations done, and it's leading the way. And this is what I find so cool. And this, I think, is why the truth frequency is so easy to detect. Authenticity, vulnerability, it's beyond those two words. It's transparency, is because it requires an open heart. It brings tears. It brings songs. It brings beautiful poems and creations and so on, pieces of art. It brings passion and purpose from the human being, but no longer from those great artistic pieces that help us get here, that were written and created from sadness and suffering and pain. We're now in this other state where we're reflecting to each other the same way, for instance, like Jesus. Jesus, really and truthfully, when you look at it, he didn't heal anybody. It happened because he was there, but he was in this state where he was reflecting back to that other person themselves, right? Because we know when we hit a certain vibe, a lot of us are experiencing this. There's a lot of parallel things going on here. The conversion from carbon-based to light body, healing, emotional balance, chatter turning off, greater clarity and vision, like we talked about earlier. And it's not really like a recipe. The recipe is all of the above: nervous system management, breathing, exercise and movement, solitude, meditation, communion, whatever you want to call it. Things that you like doing something that's fun, whatever the case is. So this is wild, and I guess what I was really trying to say is we're writing the new code. This is the new good book. This is the new sacred text. It's not written on pages and um, whatever, like anyway, it's not written on clay tablets and pages or scrolls or anything. It's written in the ethers, and there's a complement of the physical, which is the virtual reality, you might say, or the virtual world of the internet and tech, software, hardware, and all that. But yeah, we're writing the new code. We're the new good book.
You said something earlier, and I was like, yeah, that's it. With the fear and the with it's called within me. We used to learn through fear. Fear was what that's the old one. That's where you got that adrenaline plugged into you, and you got something, and it's pushing you, and the edge of it isn't the excitement; it's fear because you're worried about survival and you're worried about something bad happening. And the shift, the pivot, is to take that energy, rechannel it, and move it into a place where you're moving into your heart and you're learning through joy. You're learning through excitement. You're learning through curiosity. You're learning through that edge of, what is the unknown, and the unknown isn't a scary thing. It's like, wow, what is that going to bring to me? What is that? And you're in that place because you are already in that place within yourself. You're already in a place of trust and flow within yourself. And so you know that you're in a place of trust and flow with yourself, and you know that the universe is going to mirror the same. So what is that? What is that exciting thing that's going to come to me? What is that? What is that? What is that? And before, it was a place where we were learning through fear, where we were because we were disconnected from ourselves. We were seeking those answers externally from us because we really didn't know who we were. We saw the mirror what others said we were, and we swallowed that whole, right? They said I'm this, and that feels okay. So, okay, I'll take that because that was what so and so said, and so and so said, and so and so said. And we hadn't done that work on ourselves to know what do I really believe that? Does that really mean anything to me? Do I really identify with that? We hadn't done that. We were still in that place where we were reaching outside of ourselves, saying, well, this authority in this religion, this authority in this government, this authority that is my parents said this thing, and because they said this thing, that must be what I am. Well, now we're at a place where we're moved beyond that, and we're like, okay, I know what they said. I respect that. They have their reasons for that. That's their journey. That's their intent. That's their whatever. But is it true for me? Huh? Can I do this any differently? Do I think that part is true? And if it isn't true, what part of it is there? Any part of it is true, or do I need to rewrite the whole script? Like they're saying, do I need to strip the whole thing away? Just like we've all done. We've all stripped all that stuff away, and now we're at a place where we're rebuilding. We're not even rebuilding, reconnecting with what we've always been. Is the way I see it. In when I say I'm a reawakener of the conversation of the heart, I don't see the collective, and I mean all of humanity. I've never seen humanity as these ignorant souls. To me, they are souls that have always been divine, but at some level, and I don't even choose to point fingers because to me, there's really no point in that. But at some level, there was a cutoffness from the grace in which we were, the truth of what we were, the beauty that we were, from whatever reason, and we got cut off from that. And we kind of had to learn how to operate again, cut off, and we built up through the eons to finally reach this point, which, even within me, I saw this length of thing, and then the other part of me saw this like second, right? This moment that we were in there, and now we're in this next moment. And in this next moment, we are actually remembering and reawakening to what's already there and moving away. I'm hearing the debris that is now I'm hearing twistedness of the DNA and the trauma. And to me, the way I also see it too, I used to think there was a select few or select groups that had PTSD. Now I feel like it's the entire
It
that
is
has
the
PTSD.
entire. It is the entire. I said that yesterday. It's cosmic PTSD because it's in our DNA. I mean, and that's another thing that one of the awarenesses that's coming in, epiphanies, revelation, whatever, is that all the stuff that we've been computing as if this is all happened in this lifetime. So now we're getting
Right.
these memories. I mean, think about that. Think about just, let's just say that everybody in the world tomorrow woke up and had clear memory of their past 6 incarnations. Well,
Wow.
that information would change everything in their life, and
Well, yeah.
actually accelerate them to what you're to the point that you're talking about. But I think that the other thing is this that's really starting to drop, and and I'm just going to put it in my own words. I always say, how can a soul survive if it never dies? Like that doesn't even make sense. Now, what was one of the main characteristics of the fear programming has been survival. Like where did the reptilian implant take place in our tailbone? I mean, the root chakra, right? So we're transforming this. So if when I rationalize this, when I think about it, I'd say to myself, well, I'm not going to pay taxes because the only reason I would is because why? Because what? Because of a lawless law, or because I need to survive, or they'll put me in jail. Now, just extrapolate that. Why do I concern myself with what people think? These are the kind of conversations we're having with ourselves. And then you go, to survive. That's why it is. Well, to survive
Right.
what? My ego to survive, my ego to stay intact, like you were just talking about. Now, you have the openness of mind and heart to go, okay, this is what my brother told me, this is what my friend told me, this is what my spouse told me. I'm going to take that in. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the know-it-all. But you take it in, and then you have faith in yourself, and you make your choice through discernment, whatever the case is. But it's the same element. It's the same element of survival. So we were worried about what they thought, which is what's the difference? How I dress, do I pay taxes? Do I get car insurance? Do I abide by the lawless laws or whatever the case is? It's all the same pattern, and this is what we're starting to transform. And again, it's happening at a very, I don't want to say mundane, but it's happened at the very simple human experience, and that's both the weakness and the strength, right? Because you can't do it without it. You know what I mean? You can't. You can talk all that stuff that you want and pop out of your body all you want, but it's happening right here. Yeah.
It's,
Thanks.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Well, we got 5 minutes. Is there anything you want to do? Anything come to mind? You want to sing a song? You want to share anything? Whatever you want to do.
No, I mean, my cat's back over here.
Yeah.
Um,
That's not a cat, by the
Hi.
way. That's not a cat. That's a that's an alien. They're all from different planets, right?
They
Yeah.
are. They are. No, I mean, I'm grateful that I'm back on here. I look forward to be back on here again.
Yeah.
Um, I myself, I'm going to say that I have never been at a place, and I want to say this life, but the truth is, I feel like it's been longer than this life, where I feel I am completely comfortable with myself and the truths that come through me for me,
Uh,
and I'm at a place where I know I'm not going to claim those for anybody else. Those are just mine, but they're offered. I hear them as they're offered shortcuts. There are no shortcuts, but they're just they are observations to take to make the processing potentially shorter depending on the resonance of the soul. I guess that's
yeah.
the way I'm getting it right now.
That was very eloquent. That was a very good outro. Hey, listen, if I get over to, not if, but when I get over to San Antonio, I'll hit you up. We've got a lot of friends over there. We've done little events over there, so maybe we'll do a little get together or something on the fly. But
Maybe my babe could come. I don't know. He's sleeping right now, but you could meet my love. He's my
you have to bring
you
him. And in fact,
he you could
if you guys want to come
play him, but
on, if you guys want to come on next time together, I'm happy to facilitate that.
he would add in a whole other dimension. I'm gonna say
That's why
that to
we
this.
want to see the other side of you. Hey, thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. Blessings of peace, love, and grace to you and him and all your loved ones and everything you're doing. And yeah, we'll do this again. So, until the next time. And I'm glad we got to do this. I think it was the right timing. So, but yeah, you take care. And everybody will be back in about 4 hours with the next show. And that is going to be who? That is going to be Susan Walter. Yeah, from Sedona. So, all right, Carolyn, you take care. Peace out.